Hi everyone, this is Toygun Yılmazer from TVW Istanbul, and I have Des Jones with me today. He's the Chief Strategy Officer from TVW South Africa. Hello Des, how are you?
Hello everyone. Hi Toygun, how are you doing? Hi everyone. So, all good. Hope you're all well too.
Yes, thank you. Today we will be talking about agency culture and overall company culture, how to keep it alive, especially in the times of pandemic. At the 6 months ago, when we had TBWA meetings, we were discussing about some of the threats and opportunities that could happen during this time. And Des was the one to mention the case about culture, how it's important to keep the culture alive in the times of remote working, and we should take that as a serious subject in our discussions. So today, after spending 6 months working remotely, I want to come back to that discussion because I feel like all the advertising agencies and all the marketing companies are having same problems around keeping the culture alive. So, as a start, how would you comment on these subjects?
Well, it's been an interesting thing. I mean, immediately part of the fear was that creativity is a very collaborative process. That we are an industry who talk to each other a lot, who rely on a lot of incidental meetings that we have, even just meeting in corridors, talking about things briefly, catching up on pieces of quickly shared information. That was one side, but then the other side was just that deep connection that we have with each other, the belonging, the way that we actually can lean on each other. And what I was finding was we had tremendous advantage in the relationships we'd already created now within our own agency and also in the wider group. Toygun and I are also working together on things across the world. And many of our colleagues, we have that within TBWA. But then soon it started to become apparent what happened with new people coming into the agency structure.
Yeah.
How did they feel about part of it? How did they form relationships? What happens when those relationships get a little bit, we have to use them a lot, but we're not there to nourish them in the same way as we were. So it became a pretty major concern quite quickly. Not that we were seeing the negative effect, but it was very easy to see which way it could go. So we started looking in straight away to say, what do we do to sustain this? What do we do to actually make sure that everything that we've built, to be in the position that we are today, that we keep hold of going forward?
So and the first reaction we had was to transfer some of the experiences we have in the office to the online environment, like people are communicating and socializing in the cigarette room. So let's have a cigarette session. It may sound creative. Let's do that. We have happy hours. So let's do a happy hour online. Let's do that. Or let's have every Monday morning, let's have a greeting meeting, something like that. So all the experiences we have in the agency, we thought we could transfer them to the online environment, but they may not work that well. We have also seen that.
But I think that's the great thing to do initially was to start trying to do something. Yes. It's like, this is a market where there is no wrong way to go right now, but the only wrong thing to do is to do nothing. So those things that we started with, which seemed like the logical thing to do, sometimes they landed with some people, and then other times that you saw that they started with a flurry and then quickly died down. We saw it with drinks, with cooking programs, with people bringing their dogs into meetings. It's like we saw all sorts of things happening to start with. But soon you started to see people settling back into wanting to live their work persona as well. It's like we forget about some of these insights started to come through to us, is that who you are as a parent isn't necessarily who you are when you come to work. And it's like, and there you are sitting in one environment trying to be all things. So how did we help people escape? I mean, simple things that worked quite well when we thought about that was we encouraged people to just take walks and talk to each other. We were allowed to go for walks. So put your headphones on, put your phone in your pocket, and have those conversations out in the fresh air, get out into the garden. We even found like simple things. We thought we could replace everything face-to-face with face-to-face. And we replaced every single phone call even. And sometimes it's just quite refreshing to talk, to talk without having to look at each other, to talk while you're doing something else, to kind of have that and to bring the casual in. So there was no right way to start with. And I think what we did find is that there was a good thing was just to try lots of things to keep the culture alive and keep it going.
And for the coming months, let's say, because at the beginning, we felt like this will be like a phase, like a 6 months phase, but more and more we see that this could go on for a while, and it may be wiser to get used to it and find ways to work around it. Where can we look at to keep this remote culture alive? I know you've been having some research on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because the first thing we noticed was people were setting up little offices. Some people even finding a tiny space in their home underneath the stairs with their laptop. It's like anywhere they could get. And then we noticed that we had other people who were incredibly well set up. And there they are with 3 screens and cameras and all sorts. And what we realized was that actually already out there were 2.6 billion people who were doing incredible amounts of online engagement every single day. And it was the gaming community. There's the gaming community. And when we added it up, we found out they were spending, it's like they were spending 1 million years each year online, working, doing stuff, being in that environment. And they'd learned a lot of stuff. And the people who make games had learned a lot about how to engage, how to be a part of their life. Really interesting things. It's like, so when you're isolated, you need to know where you stand. You need to know how am I doing? Because every day at work, we gauge ourselves by the interactions we have. We gauge ourselves how well we're doing our colleagues. And that's the thing. The gaming industry gives you statistics all the time. It'll let you know exactly where you're at. The gaming industry does amazing things to allow you to form virtual teams instead of physical teams. And what would seem happenstance, people meet in a chat room and they form up a team and they play a quest together. Well, actually, it's a lot more structured because it's people who are able to play at the same time. So parents who can actually get together between 9 and midnight because it's a much better time for them. So people who have the skills to come together. So in Asia now, we've just put together a skills portal to allow you to find people across Asia who actually have the skill for you to make the team you need right now, regardless of which agency they're sitting in. So there were some tremendous things that we looked at within that space, from the teamwork, from the creativity side. If you think down to everyone contributes to creating this cultural solution. We looked at Minecraft, which is basically just a blank canvas, which the actual gamers have taught as much to the developers as the developers have given the gamers. So being open to that idea that the cultural answer doesn't have to come from the management here. The cultural answer can come and be created together. And even just to the point earlier, we looked as well and saw there was endless amounts of gaming tech which had been given a go. People had tried it out at some point. I think the initial Oculus Rift was, a dreadful thing, and it didn't work. But now, and the Wii, and you look at all the platforms that have been, but what it did say is like people are prepared to try things to get a good result here. And that's where we found that if the experiments that we've tried and the things that we've gone out with is like, people have been incredibly willing to bring some richness and depth back into their days, rather because they feel the pressure. And that one of the last parts in gaming is, people get into what we call a flow state incredibly well, where their skill and their output are incredibly connected, where they are just flowing so well in their work. And we realized that we were interrupting that constantly. We weren't allowing people to get into a flow state. So it's like, how culturally do we now back off, give people time to connect? It's like, keeping chats open all the time isn't necessarily the right thing. Sometimes you've got to, settle into what you're doing. So it was a really interesting connection to see it's like what the gaming industry could teach us about how to conduct culture through a remote link, because it's been an amazing industry for it.
When I look at my schedule today and this week, it's all about meetings. Like every hour I have a meeting, and it's all about talking together. But as you said, maybe we should spare some time for the flow and to focus on something. But do you have any suggestions on how to do that? Because at the moment we're almost inclined like every problem could be solved by talking to each other in a group. Like every subject needs a meeting.
Yes.
And
I think
through talking.
Yeah, I think that even looking across there at the tech companies, I think Amazon's approach is one that is proving tremendously valuable right now. They don't Amazon famously doesn't allow PowerPoint or Keynote or people to talk over things. They structure their meetings. They start with a document which everyone has to read, which places out the argument. But actually just coming back from the talking a little bit and going, it's not about talking, it's about communicating, it's about clarity. It's about getting across the necessary points. Structuring of meetings has to become a whole lot better in this environment. It almost seems easier to have the meetings because you never have to travel. You never have to leave your desk. It's like you can hang one up, start another. We know how difficult it is even to get a bathroom break in this climate. It's hard to do that. But the structure, I think we've lost a little bit of, and that means that we've got a new level of responsibility. So can we come in with more structured output? Can we have more opportunities for everyone to take part? The other part on the conversation was, sometimes it's not everyone that takes part. It's a few strong people who are dominating conversations. So we looked as well at creating pyramids of conversations where two people will discuss a topic, share with a slightly larger group. The groups will come together, then we'll all come to a final point where a lot of thoughts have been considered. Now, from a creative point of view, it made for tremendous volume of ideas. But those volume ideas come together, and at the end, everyone's been a part of a structured system. So I think looking for those structured plays, and I equate that back to the gaming world. We all start off in our first round matches, and then we go to the quarterfinals, the semifinals. We bring it up to the final. But what it means is at the end, the outcome is something we were all a part of. So it's looking for new ways all the time to say, can we keep it alive? Is there? And I'm not saying that the only thing you need to do is look at the gaming industry. It's like there is a lot more to it than that, but it's a useful space. So.
This topic of structure of online meetings, how can they get more structured? So this will be, I think, theme for advertising industry and for all the companies actually in the coming months in 2021. It could be maybe we can have some new principles, some new ideas around how they should be designed and followed. That could help. And other than that, when we look into 2021, what would you expect? What would you recommend for all companies when it comes to culture?
Well, to relook the way that your culture is flowing in your organization, to look at the touch points differently. One of the major touch points that we've always had has been the office space. Now, I think a lot of us are considering how we save money on that office space going forward, how we cut costs. But as we pull that away, realize we're pulling something out of culture. So what do we put into its place? What is that structured formal thing? We had, like I said, tremendous advantage out of the workplace system, the Facebook workplace system we'd already put into place. The backslash way that we communicate culture, cultural conversations in the world. There's like we'd looked at it, not just dropping information onto people, but curating it a lot more, making it more edible. Making it something that you can take on and find when you need it to. So how we structure our information sharing, how we relook the time and how we use it, how we actually take on a responsibility to keep people engaged. I was going to say entertained. It's not just entertained, but when we present and we do stuff, that how is this engaging? How many webinars have we all been on? I know we're looking at another one here right now, but really, is there a new format and a new way? Because I don't know about you, but I've got a little webinar fatigue. It's kind of, I can sign into a webinar 24 hours a day, every day if I want to right now. So the challenge is a creative challenge. It's how we actually take what we say we do in the world, which is creative communication, and use that to bring to life our cultures within our organizations and even the new points that we'll need. I think there is some need to look at our cultures and not throw them away, but ask how they may need to change or supplement because of the new way that we actually are together. So the two sides, what we actually have in our culture and then how we deliver and implement it. It's going to be an interesting time. And I don't think anyone has all the answers, but but we should be out there trying to find them, experimenting with our people, prepared to change if things aren't working. But the worst thing you can do right now is do nothing. So 2021, I think, is going to be a year where we see a lot of people trying to really bring their businesses back to life and their cultures back to life. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time. Yeah, maybe next year we'll be talking about some of the new ways that people have discovered. We'll see. And thank you, everyone, for being with us. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you all. Bye-bye.